Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at my XXL Shiny Greninja in the Open Ultra League. Still so happy that I get this Pokemon because Greninja is my favorite Pokemon, and having the XXL Shiny is kinda funny to use, so I'm totally happy with this. We're going to have a very decent team here as well. Like, this team worked out pretty well for me. We're going to have the lead of Greninja, we're going to have the Say-Swap of Skeledirge, and we're going to have here our Clefable in the back. There are going to be some issues maybe for this team, which I can take a look at when they occur in this video, but in general, this team was a lot of fun to play. Greninja has some play in the current meta as well, but it can be also a little bit difficult. Issues for Greninja are, of course, Fairy-type Pokemon, which are not really that common in this meta. There are some, of course, which we are playing right now as well, which is kind of hilarious when I say it's not that common, but you have one on your own team. But there are mainly Fighting-type Pokemon, which are like the biggest issue, and like the odd Electric-type Pokemon as well. So those are Pokemon they kind of want to counter. And of course, the Say-Swap of Skeledirge really helps with that. Here we're going to be able to even go for 2 Moonblasts with our Clefable being basically the bulky Pokemon of this team. I'm going to be able to force the opponent to even go for another charge move, which is going to be really good for us. We can go for another fast move here, and they're going to have also a Fairy-type Pokemon, which we can completely hardwall. Good game there. But honestly, I feel like this team is kind of perfectly put together because you're going to have 2 Pokemon that kind of answer Fairy-type Pokemon, because actually Clefable has access to the Steel-type coverage of Media Mesh, allowing it to beat other Fairy-type Pokemon as well. And here we're going to see a matchup that is usually pretty decent for Greninja. But while you're doing some neutral damage with your charge move of Night Slash and the opponent only does resisted damage with any kind of move that they have, you're still going to struggle a little bit in a zero shield scenario, but the opponent decides to swap out for whatever reason, allowing us to go into a Clefable against the Poliwrath, and honestly Clefable is so good to lock in those fighting type Pokemon in the current meta. There you go for Scald, they get the attack drop, which is actually kind of important because now they would be able to survive a Moonblast, and it's going to be a little bit of a trickier one, as you can see here, but I can still reach my Media Mesh in time. Media Mesh is going to connect and knock them out here, so it's going to be still okay for us, but of course if they didn't get this, it would have been a little bit easier. Speaking of a little bit easier, I guess this battle gonna be a little bit easier now because they're going to have a Pokemon that is double weak to fire in the back, and guess what? We have a fire type in the back. So we're going to be able to let this move go through on Greninja. I just kind of want to get rid of my Clefable at that point, and now I can swap out into the Skeledirge and look at the damage output. They have super effective moves here, in theory at least, with the Drill Run, but of course I know that they still have the Feraligatr, which is going to do a little bit more damage with their charge move because it's going to be a stab from a Shadow variant as well. But as you're gonna see here, we're gonna just be able to farm them down. In comes these Sandslash again, they survive with 1 HP, and I kinda wanted to check if this was exactly 1 HP, so I decided to go for the Disarming Voice. If they use a shield and they go down, it would be kinda funny, but they sadly didn't, use a shield there, but we can move on to the next opponent. Next one coming up, we're going to have a Galvantula in the lead. Pretty bad, but we can swap out into our Skeledirge and we're going to get out the Jellicent. What I have to say is, I encountered quite a lot of Jellicents, but they were all kind of in the back. But it does kind of make sense that Jellicent is kind of common in this meta right now because of all the fighting type Pokemon. You have Annihilate, you're going to have the Poliwrath, like this is basically one of the best answers to them. But here, we're going to try to take some advantage of them not doing any damage really against us, even though Shadow Ball still kind of chunks a little bit, because it can still go up to nearly 100 energy, go for a Night Slash. This is going to connect and knock them out, and they're gonna swap out most likely back into their Electric type. Let's find out. We can still try to go for a charge move. Never mind, they decided to go into the Dragonite, and I didn't really realize it, and so I decided to go for the resisted Hydro Cannon, which is not very smart. If I went for the Night Slash spam, I think I definitely still had a very decent chance of winning this game. Here, I'm going to call the bait because my best bet of winning this game, but I decided to go for the Discharge, which is really unfortunate. Very smart play by the opponent. The opponent really played this well. But again, if I went for the Night Slash spam, I had 100 energy basically on my Greninja. I would have been most likely able to get a shield advantage, if not even 2 shields from the opponent. And I would have been in a way better spot than I am in right now. So I feel like this game, I kind of threw away myself. I kind of could have won this one most likely if I just played a little bit better. Here, I still try my best at least. The opponent goes for the lunge, we don't survive it, and so yeah, this game is sadly over. I still can try to win this game, but it's not going to happen, and so we can move on to the next opponent. And let's see what they're going to run. Steelix in the lead. This is going to be a little bit of a better one, and this game was actually kind of insane, and I was kind of mad about something here, which you're gonna see right now. I go for the Night Slash, and I was kind of waiting out afterwards if I'm gonna get the boost or not, because if I get the boost, I want to stay in, and yeah, I actually got the boost, but I still kind of panic clicked onto my Clefable, and this was of course my fault, but Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but it's not that bad either. It is very bad that they got the drop here, because this means that they can two-shot us basically with the liquidation, which is kind of bad. But actually, they decide to use a shield here, and it's going to be an intact fell for the opponent, so I can let the next move go through, and I still should be able to outspeed them. But basically, I would have rather stayed in still with my Greninja, just go for the charge move and just try to win this matchup like that with the double boost basically. But maybe you can get another boost, who knows? Let's find out here. We can go ahead and use a shield here against the opponent. It is going to be that X-Scissor, which is going to do super effective damage. Night Slash is coming through. Do we get another boost? Like, no way to get back-to-back boost here, but maybe we can still hope for it. And we can hope for it, as we can get it here as well. And so, the opponents can still get my final shield, but I am buffed, and they swap out into an Annihilate. And so, buffed Greninja does not really care too much about what the opponent wants to do here, as he can try to even go for another Night Slash, and I kind of make a little bit of a mistake here, because if the opponent has like Breaking Swipe, they can knock me out from this range for sure, and they can get to the next charge move in time. I have to hope that this is going to be a Psychic Fangs. It is Psychic Fangs, and so we're going to be able to hit this super effective double buffed stab Hydro Cannon, and it's not going to knock them out, but one more fast move is all it takes, and so the opponent decides to forfeit. Moving on, the next opponent. You could actually argue of staying in for a little bit longer with a Greninja in that matchup, because it's not that bad for a little bit at least, especially in like the two-shield scenario. You actually can maybe sometimes win against the Clefable just because you outspeed them usually to the charge move, and they can have to go for the Moonblast. Here I make a little bit of a crucial mistake, I would say. I decided to go ahead and let this move go through, all fine of course, but I decided to go for the bait here with Media Mesh. I should have not done this, because I expected that the opponent wanted to kind of realign themselves, but they didn't, so they're going to be double good against Greninja in the back, I would imagine, at this point. So I can still go for another Media Mesh. They decide to use a shield, and so I'm kind of forced to use a shield as well, as I need to realign myself, of course. But if I just went for the Moonblast, I would have been better off, most likely, and just would have aligned myself immediately. And they're actually not double good against Greninja. It's going to be a Hippowdon, and yeah, Greninja without shields is just going to be a little bit of a trickier Pokemon. Scorching Sands, going to be able to connect, you're going to do a ton of damage, and I'm kind of hoping for another boost here. Do we get a boost again? We actually do get a boost again, and so this game is not over with that. We can still go for another charge move here. Night Slash is coming through, doing a ton of damage. We hope that we can farm down, but we just barely miss out. One more fast move was all we took, like basically one extra turn would have been enough to knock out the opponent here, and then they would have had no chance with a Clefable against our Skeledirge, but like this, we're sadly gonna go down. Very unfortunate, like literally, like it is so close, but we can move on to the next opponent now. Goodra. Goodra is the hardest answer for this team. Like, there are other Dragon type Pokemon that's going to be a little bit better for us, but luckily the opponent decides to swap out here for whatever reason. They didn't have to do this, but they did do this, and so they even use a shield here, which is going to be even better for me. So I can let this next move go through from the opponent here. I don't really care too much about it. Shadow Ball can knock me out, but I can go back into my Greninja. And now it just depends if they have something in the back where Clefable can actually do something. So Shadow Ball coming through, doing some decent damage. I can still go for another charge move here with the Night Slash coming through here. Going to see that they gonna go down from another Night Slash, and so I don't really want to get my Greninja too low. I decided to just go straight for my Night Slash and gonna get the knockout here against them, and so I can swap out and they have a Poliwrath in the back. And this is going to be great. And I'm gonna call that this is going to be, of course, the Icy Wind, but I still use a shield, or like a little bit of an idiot there. I don't know why I did this, to be fair, because it was kind of an obvious Icy Wind, and I kind of have to let some move go through eventually anyway, so this might come back to bite me, because now I have to call that this is going to be an Icy Wind, and so I let this move go through. But of course the opponent's now in a range where it would not knock them out, and they decide to swap out into the Goodra. They make a great play with that here, but it is still not over, but it's going to be very difficult for me to win this game now. They decide to go for a charge move, very likely an awkward here, but I kind of not really know if they overfarmed by quite a bit or if they went straight for it. So my only play is to go for the charge move now, and I have to kind of store some energy for later on, but I think that they still get to move in time, and so I decide to swap out into my Greninja. Issue here is that the fast move is going to knock them out, but they can now go for the full farm down with the Poliwrath. I have to get them lower so I know that I can knock them with like my Hydro Cannon here, but it's going to be so close. Can we still get to the move? We can, and they did not go for that charge move, allowing me to go for the knockout with a Moonblast, and we were still able to win this game. Moving on, a great lead for us. We're going to have a Talonflame here. They decide to swap out into the Umbreon, and I make a mistake. I should have stayed in with my Greninja for way longer, because this matchup is so in the favor of Clefable. Like, it's not even, like, it's so good for Clefable that I could have just stayed in the lead and got more energy. Like, this is a thing as well that I kind of have to realize sometimes when the opponent swaps out, that you stay in with your lead for a little bit if, like, it's not really urgent because you have, like, such a great matchup in the back just to get some energy. Greninja lives from its energy. Like, you kind of need to always have energy on Greninja for this Pokemon to function well, and so staying in the lead would have been definitely the better play. But at least I can still go for some Moonblast here, which definitely get them kind of low. But let's see if this is going to bite me back, because like I could have had more than one Hydro Cannon stored at this point already and still would have been totally fine. So this was a crucial mistake for sure, but yeah, you live and learn. This was definitely something that might be going to be a little bit painful for me later on. But we have to see what they're going to have in the back. They decide to go for a Fly. They are going to have a Venusaur in the back, and so we hardwall them. But this could have been a little bit scarier if they didn't have a Venusaur in the back. Next opponent, Great Lead Force. This is going to be a matchup which we can just go for the Hydro Cannon. This is going to hopefully do some nice stuff here. We can most likely two-shot them then as well, which is going to be great, as another fast move would be enough most likely to put them into knockout range here. So let's just go for another Hydro Cannon, and hopefully that's going to be enough for us to knock them out. The opponent is going to take this move, and yes, we can knock the opponent out. We can swap out here now into the Skeledirge against the opponent's Annihilate. They're going to outspeed me to the Shadow Ball because they have some extra energy prior already, but it's going to be okay. Shadow Ball is going to get shielded, and now they kind of have to force it. They have to catch a move here, which is going to go onto the Jellicent. I'm kind of okay with this play at this point, basically, because I still can definitely get a shield from the opponent with the next Disarming Voice. And so I'm going to go for this Disarming Voice coming through, going to get the shield, and I try to even reach another one, but they go for the charge move. If it's a Surf, I still survive, but they decide to go for the Shadow Ball, and so this is going to be a little bit of a trickier matchup. But we still have a very good chance here of winning this game by playing a little bit around here. I'm going to be forced to let this move go through. It's going to be a Surf, and so I can swap out, and I have to hope that Clefable can just go for the full Farm Down at this point. I don't really care too much about what the opponent does here, because I can easily take a Shadow Ball, but I cannot go for the full Farm Down. I have to still go for a charge move here, otherwise the opponent can still go for a Surf, but I still get a ton of energy, and this energy can come in clutch for me later on. I decide to go for the Media Mesh, which is going to be neutral, but still put them into farm down range, and they let the move go through, and so this game is going to be over. Final battle for today. Literally worst possible lead that I could imagine, but also worst possible save swap that I could imagine, because the opponent could even just let this move go through and they can just realign without even having to worry about anything, so that's not going to be great for me. But let's see here, the opponent is going to have to take a charge move eventually, at least. Here the opponent gonna go for their own Shadow Ball. Sadly, they never went for Surf. Surf would have not knocked us out, but here at least I can still try to go for the full farm down. Might be a way to still gain some kind of an advantage here, but let's find out. We can try to go for the full farm down. The opponent's still going to be able to reach another charge move. It's going to be that Surf, and we can swap out into our Como, and it's going to be a Feraligatr in the back. This is basically impossible to win. Feraligatr just outspeeds our Clefable, and so my only play is to hope that the opponent is going to kind of mess up somewhere. I can still try to go for the Media Match and try to get the shields from the opponent, as like this, basically they have to keep their Feraligatr around, but we just don't get them into range for our Greninja. Like, the energy of Greninja kind of gonna go to waste, because yes, I might be able to hit like one Night Slash against them, but after that Night Slash, the opponent can just swap out because they're not in range for it yet. And so here, Hydro Cannon comes through, gonna put me way too low. I can swap out, go for the Night Slash, but as long as they have to kind of swap out immediately for them to still win, but they do this, and so sadly, this is going to be a loss here for us. Still well played by the opponent, and still this team actually worked out pretty well for me, so if you want to have a Greninja team, this definitely works out pretty well. But also, Clefable is a Pokemon that you should definitely look into, like very good Pokemon in the current meta. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.